major emergency unfolding in Los Angeles right now. As we go to air, 4 major fires are surrounding the city and raging out of control. Harrowing images show the apocalyptic blaze. Near Malibu, residents filming as fire engulfs their home.
You're gonna be okay.
Incredible pictures, aren't they? Hurricane strength winds are fanning the blaze. Our crews on the ground.
People in this area are still in harm's way. Authorities say that they are not out of the woods yet, and still these incredibly strong winds are picking up, fanning flames like this, continuing to destroy properties in the heart of this fire zone.
At least 2 people have been killed and there are multiple people with significant injuries. Authorities giving this dire update.
The fire is growing. We have no percentage of containment. We have an estimated 1,000 structures destroyed.
Hard to fathom, isn't it? Live now to 9 US correspondent Jonathan Kersley, who is at the Pacific Palisades fire near Malibu. Good morning to you, Jono. The devastation there is just hard to comprehend.
Hard to comprehend, but this is that devastation. This is the Pacific Palisades Bowl and Caravan Park, or at least it was. Now there is nothing left. It's been flattened. What's left are the elements of people's livelihoods, cars, furniture. There's still unexploded gas bottles lying around. And the concern here now is this wind. The wind gusts here now, they're around about 80 kilometres or so when they keep popping up. And you can see from those palm trees just the force of that wind as another gust comes through. And that smoke that is coming over the top there, that thick black smoke, is from the Pacific Palisades fire itself, where there have been hundreds and hundreds of homes that have been simply burnt to the ground. The fire in there is still burning. As the authorities have said, this is 0% contained. So too is the one in the north of Los Angeles. Right across these fires, there is just utter devastation. In this area today where we were, every street we went to, it was the same picture time after time after time. Homes razed to the ground. In some instances, some people trying to return to see if their property was still standing, but it wasn't. And the concern for authorities now is not only people trying to come back in, they've already made 2 arrests for people who have been suspected of looting in and around these areas, but the emergency concern is down to this wind. It keeps picking up in quite strong gusts in and around that 80 to 90 kilometre an hour mark, and this fire is nowhere near contained yet. In fact, they can't even get the water bombers in place because it is so windy, and authorities say that that won't happen until later on today, only when the conditions are safe to do so. It's just gone 10:30 or so here in the morning, and there are wind warnings in place right until 6 p.m. local time tonight. So this has hours to run yet, and authorities stressed earlier that nobody here is out of the woods, that this right now is a danger zone, and it's a danger zone on many fronts again.
Jonathan Kersley, live in Pacific Palisades. Thank you.
A young man has been found alive 12 days after he went missing in the New South Wales Kosciuszko National Park. He's being reunited with loved ones. Nine's Claudia Vidoljak is live for us at Cooma Hospital. Claudia, he was taken there last night.
Yeah, Davina, he was taken here to Cooma Hospital last night for a health checkup and assessment, and extraordinarily, we're told, in good health and spirits with no apparent injuries, despite everything he's been through. Hardy Nazari, a 23-year-old medical student from Victoria, was hiking with friends in the Kosciuszko National Park when he left the group on Boxing Day to go and take photos and wasn't seen again. Almost 2 weeks later, he was found by fellow hikers yesterday afternoon and finally reunited with family and friends. He was discovered about 10 kilometres away from where the search command was set up, with hundreds of emergency services scouring the dense bushland for any sign of Hardy for 13 days. Police say he found a hut and remarkably survived off just 2 muesli bars and foraged berries. Right now, we're waiting to hear how he is holding up this morning, but his family tell us it is the best day of their life. Davina, truly a remarkable story of survival.
It is incredible. OK, Claudia, thank you. Well, 3 people are dead and 4 are recovering in hospital after a seaplane crash at Rottnest Island off the coast of Perth. The Transport Safety Bureau is now vowing to leave no stone unturned as they prepare to recover the wreckage later this morning.
We'll look at the whole sequence of events. So certainly the weather, the takeoff speed, the weight, the balance.
I think the aircraft has suffered a stall. That's an aerodynamic stall just after takeoff. It may well have been that the pilot tried to get airborne a fraction too early.
The pilot killed when the Cessna 208 plunged into the water just seconds after takeoff. He's been identified as 34-year-old James Wong. 2 tourists in their 60s were also killed, both holidaying with their partners who survived. A couple from WA is also recovering. Well, pictures just in, 2 arsonists have been filmed trying to set fire to a fast food outlet in Melbourne's east. One of them caught on CCTV accidentally setting themselves alight as they attempted the firebombing at Doncaster East early hours of Christmas morning. Police say they fled with a third person in a white Toyota Tarago van. Investigators are asking anyone with information to come forward. Heavily armed tactical teams have made a number of dramatic arrests on a busy Blacktown street. Today's Jack Hahn is there for us this morning. Jack, good morning to you. What triggered this police operation?
Well, Penrith Police have been investigating drug supply in Sydney's northwest. Throughout the course of their investigation, they became aware of a public place shooting that happened on Lane Street in St Mary's last Friday, so things really started to ramp up. And then yesterday on the driveway out of Westfield here in Blacktown, the state's Tactical Operations Unit made their move, boxing in a vehicle and taking down 4 men, all aged in their 20s. They were placed under arrest. 2 ended up being let go and 2 were formally charged. And then yesterday afternoon, a number of raids were executed in the suburb of Jordan Springs, where they discovered a huge haul of methamphetamine, 244 kilograms worth of those drugs that are now off the streets of Sydney's west. Davina.
Good news, Jack. Thank you. Well, Peter Dutton has followed the Prime Minister's footsteps, launching his shadow campaign in an early election pitch to voters. Let's go live to Canberra and our federal politics reporter Liz Daniels. Liz, a rally will be held in Melbourne this weekend.
It will be, Davina. The coalition choosing to focus on a very different election battleground. The PM might have kicked off his year in Queensland on this sort of pseudo-campaign, but Peter Dutton won't be beginning in his home state. He's preparing, as you said, for that rally in Melbourne this weekend in a bid to claw back key Victorian seats that could help him pave an unlikely path to victory. Anthony Albanese today will head across the country to Kununurra in Western Australia, then finish the day in Perth in what is a highly unusual move for politicians to be out and about this early in the year and ahead of an election that's not due until before the end of May. This morning, the PM also buoyed by those inflation figures that we saw out yesterday, which have raised, Davina, the optimism for a potential February rate cut. A bit of relief for mortgage holders could go a long way in lifting the mood of voters.
And yeah, a lift ahead of the election. OK.